A number of us thought that Australia needed two international class business schools, one based in Melbourne, one based in Sydney, and that really every developed country in the world needed a business school. We just couldn't rely upon international business schools. We needed to relate business to the needs of the country. As a result of all these efforts, in two fundraisings we raised about $17 million. It is self-funding and the directors, like directors of any company, they've got a huge responsibility to ensure its success.
Darvel has always recognised the opportunities to assist women in society through the trust work. When the fellowships were first established, the so-called glass ceiling was alive and very well. It was seen as an opportunity to encourage and support high-quality female graduates who saw their future careers in business, and to enable them to attend Melbourne Business School. Perhaps some who might in other circumstances without the fellowship have not been able to do that. And I think over the years some 40 or so fellows have been beneficiaries of the fellowship from Helen Macpherson Smith Trust, and we're very pleased that we've contributed in that way.
At the time, it gave me a great sense of achievement and accomplishment. It gave me the feeling that someone had actually validated the work I had done before actually starting the MBA. The fact that it was just for a woman was pretty special in itself, because I had worked in an environment where there weren't actually many women. Clark Shoes was predominantly a manufacturing environment. Well, I've actually met Darvel. I did thank him because at the time it was difficult to step straight out of work and do full-time study. But more than that, I felt like all of the work that I'd done beforehand and what I might have done in the future was acknowledged and validated.
I think the Dean's Women in Management Scholarship is an extraordinary privilege. It's given me opportunities to meet some inspiring, really accomplished women. Being a doctor, receiving this award signals to a lot of women in healthcare that institutions like the Melbourne Business School not only support gender diversity, they also support diversity in industries.
The Rupert Murdoch Fellowship was established in 1989 to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the Australian newspaper. Well, in News Corporation's view, I think philanthropy in education is very important. We believe that education is imperative for future generations to have opportunities. I think News Corp has always invested and supported education. One of our pillars in our community program is Education for All. But the investment in the Melbourne Business School and the Rupert Murdoch Fellowship has been a long-term big one for the company. We're really proud to work with the business school. We think it's an exciting initiative for the company, and it's been ongoing, and the outcomes of producing and being able to give these young people opportunities to be our future leaders, I think is really important to the company.
I was working out in the outback in Western Australia as process engineer in a nickel operation, and I felt that it was time for me to learn more about how businesses operated as a whole and move out of an operations role. And the MBA helped me do that. So coming through a career that involved coal to liquid, I'm now in biomass to power and heat. So I now run a public company called Biosyngas, supporting an MBA student for a fellowship or a scholarship such as mine. And it's really important to know that those people will have a well-rounded education and will be looking at ways of positioning Australia for the future.
When we set up the endowment fund, we had a class of 26 people who we consulted with and who had to agree on what the endowment fund was going to support. And we ended up coming up with a couple of ideas, and Indigenous education was one of those. We hadn't originally aspired to an amount that large, but we were given incentives through the school matching funding, and the class just got behind the drive and achieved that incredible outcome. What we've seen is that program now has successfully run for, this is its 4th year, it's completed now. Something like 70 Indigenous entrepreneurs have graduated from that program.
So I was introduced to Melbourne Business School last year when I did the Murra Indigenous Business Masterclass. Without the support financially, I would never have got that opportunity. Because I didn't have prior experience in retail, it would have been very difficult for me to even get the exposure that I have at the moment to the executives that I work with, but also the scope across the business if I wanted to start there from scratch. So I feel extremely fortunate. I feel like my career has just been absolutely jump-started.
There was tremendous demand from industry for a program like this. I think what they were looking for is trilinguists, people who had skills in technology and maths as well as in business, and they're very, very hard to find. It's really important to get the best and the brightest students from across the world to join our programs. And the best and the brightest students from across the world don't always have the financial means to join our programs. So philanthropy is quite critical from my perspective to support the scholarships that we offer to our students, and I think it's capable of bringing in some absolutely spectacular students. And I've personally been the recipient of these scholarships in my own lifetime, and I think it changed my life, and so I think it's quite important that we do something together to change the lives of students coming in.
The need for the graduates and the skills that are coming out of the Masters of Business Analytics is what we need, what our clients need, and the funding of the scholarship is a way of encouraging others to come forward, the best and the brightest, to put their names forward and consider a career in business analytics.
So I have met my donors, Enrico and Nigel, and I think it's really amazing that I got to meet the whole AT Kearney team and even attended some of the fantastic events that they run at their office. It's really given me a new perspective and just brought a whole lot of new ideas. I think at the top level, instead of decisions being made on gut feeling, I feel like a lot more will be made on data. But more than that, we're starting to move to an area from just simply reporting to business intelligence, but now moving into an area of advanced analytics, developing tools that can predict, that can prescribe what we should be doing with our business. Thanks to you, I've learned more, I've learned faster, and from some of the best people in the industry and within the academic world.
Well, I really enjoyed the time at the school. I found it tremendously valuable to me personally. I've always had an attitude that when you receive such a benefit, you want to be able to give back. So I've wanted to make my contribution to the school and to provide for resources and facilities for others to benefit from in the same way that I benefited. We've had wonderfully generous donations from people in the past to set up in its current form. But if you think about our desire to be globally competitive and globally relevant, most of the other named business schools around the world have enormous philanthropic support behind them. And if we want to be in that league, I think it's important for us to continue to build up our philanthropic support. Well, the school's been around for 50 years, so it's had 50 years of graduates trained in business, going into leadership businesses in companies in Australia and overseas. I think that's an enormous impact because these are people who actually make a difference to the economies of the countries they're in.
If I were to meet one of the donors for my scholarship, I would certainly start with an enormous thank you for their incredible generosity. Furthering your education is an incredibly enriching experience, and I think it helps you to become more rounded and more productive. And so to assist someone with that education is one of the greatest gifts that you can give someone and one of the greatest gifts you can receive. So I'm incredibly grateful to the donors for enabling this for me.